Oh yeah. Potential isn't proven. Let's roll. Hey. Hey. Oh, I'm ready. I am ready. I am so ready. What's going on, y'all? My name is Tony Mendoza, and you are listening to Potential Isn't Proven, the podcast. And yo, DV, what are we sipping on?
Oh yeah, Tony, you are sipping on some of the finest bourbon that came out of 2021. Distilled by Wild Turkey, bottled in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. You are drinking on Russell's Reserve, 13 years old. Barrel proof, non-chill filtered, 57.4% alcohol, 114.8 proof. Back to you, Tony.
Okay, and while I take a little sip, let's listen to the sponsorship. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to Potential Isn't Proven, the podcast. There's 3 ways you can definitely help this channel grow, and the first way is absolutely free. All you got to do is like and subscribe to my YouTube page and follow everything there is under Doza direction. It's absolutely free and it helps us out a ton. So please go like and subscribe. The second way is joining my Patreon page. Under Doza direction, you could be a part of for as little as $2 a month. Anything there is behind the scenes footage, being a part of polls to pick my next topic on the podcast, and all there is. So join the La Familia. And third and final way you can sponsor this incredible podcast is by joining this little section of the sponsor video. Have your business or your organization in this little spot. Just email me at dozadirection@gmail.com. Have a great day. Let's go, Tony. Back to you.
Now we're going to do something extremely fun. We're going to play a wonderful game called Who is My Daddy and What Does He Do?
What's going on? Once again, my name is Tony Mendoza, and that was a long intro, but I gotta say, I'm gonna do it every time. So I hope you guys are ready for a great time. So who am I? Well, my name is Steve Anthony Mendoza. Other people know me as Tony Mendoza. On all social media platforms, it is Doza Direction, Mr. Imperfection. And you know, we are going to have a great time today. I cannot wait to speak with you guys. Thank you so much once again to listening to the Potential Isn't Proven podcast. And also what we're doing is we're also simultaneously recording this on video so you guys can check it out on YouTube, of course. And let's get down to it. Where am I originally from? I'm from San Antonio, Texas. Texas, born and raised, and I love my state. I'm a Hispanic, last name's Mendoza, and I'm super proud to be Latino. And another thing, coming from Texas, I've realized a lot of things, is that Texas is always humid, Texas is always hot, but yes, everything is bigger in Texas. And my personality is just as big as the state of Texas. Not only that, probably also my ego, but that's another story for another day. So I lived in Texas for around 25 years of my life and then relocated to, let me see here, Nashville, Tennessee. But before Nashville, Tennessee, where it's popping in Nashville, Tennessee, I went to the best college university in the entire world, and that was Texas A&M University. And I love my school. I got a degree in strategic communication. What the hell does that even mean? It just means that I wasn't smart enough to get into the business school because I really wanted to do finance. But with that being said, I did amazing things in Texas A&M that we're going to dive deeper in a second. And then I relocated to Nashville, Tennessee, where it is super popping in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, I love Austin. There is no comparison between Nashville and Austin. I'm going to say that right now. And what do I mean by that? I mean that things are coming to Nashville right now. I've been living in Nashville before the pandemic, so that's about 2 years. The year is 2022, February, and boy, this city has really, really, really grown. I live right in the heart of downtown, so Broadway is like the 6th Street in Austin. It's always crazy during the summertime. We actually get seasons in here other than Texas, where you get no seasons. You just get hot. And, you know, let's get down to it. Where's my background from? Well, if you look at the oh my goodness, I'm already losing my voice. See, we're going to keep this all one take. That's another thing you're going to learn about me. I don't go back and forth. I like to hit everything at one time. If you look at the podcast art, you will see a younger me in 6th or 8th grade, one of the two, and you see a DJ. Yeah, back in the day, my name used to be DJ Psycho, P-S-Y to the C-H-O, and all my homies from Texas would know exactly what that means. And one thing that I always been into is content. Now, that could have been DJing, because back in the day, I used to be a DJ. Then I used to record people in my room all through my high school, living basically on my couch in my parents' living room, while my entire bedroom was dedicated for audio production. So when it comes to audio, I am a super anal person about it. I like my sound to sound crispy. I like it to sound good, and I hope it sounds good to you guys over there in the podcast world and on YouTube. So when I went to Texas A&M University, I also created a YouTube show, and this is where I fell in love with YouTube. I created a show called Student's Perspective. Student's Perspective is still found on YouTube today, and what it was is a YouTube show introducing Texas A&M's traditions into the school and broadcasted throughout YouTube. That YouTube show gained around 250,000 views, and it's still growing. But boy, do I miss creating content. And another thing, when I relocated to Nashville, I've always been out of the content mode. I was always out of the creative mode, and then something just snapped. Something snapped within when I turned 30 this past year. I was like, yo, am I really doing what I love? Do I really want to just go through my entire 30s not proving what I feel that I can do? And that is content. That is my personality. I want you guys to enjoy my personality. I want you guys to hear me. I want you guys to hear the stories that I tell. And the only way I can do it is by putting it all together. From when I was in high school doing audio, to when I was in college doing video, and now we're putting it all together in this incredible package. And let's go down to it. So, do I listen to podcasts? And the answer is kind of. I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts. And why? They are competition.
Yeah, Lennox Lewis, Lennox, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, when it comes down to anyone doing content, when it comes down to podcasts, I listen intently. I listen to the quality. I listen to the stories that are being told. And if I'm not into it, best believe
I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.
No, I'm not. I am not going to let you guys destroy the internet, destroy the ears of the other people. We want to make sure that we're doing great content. And that's what I'm here to bring. I'm here to bring my personality, my motivation styles. Maybe it's because I'm a Hispanic and everything that I'm going to say is going to be super blunt. Best believe that. Everything I'm going to say, if I tell your ass to get up, get up. If I say stop being a bitch, I just basically mean it's time for you to start really doing what you want to do and stop doing the things that you're just doing to get by. So what will you expect by listening to Potential is Improving? Well, one thing you can expect is every Wednesday, I'm going to drop a new podcast. And that is going to be simultaneously through whatever podcast streaming website you listen to and also YouTube every Wednesday. And each of my podcasts are going to have different sections. So like every 3 sections, maybe 5 sections. Another thing that everyone's been asking me is, am I going to have hosts for this podcast? And the answer is hell no. Hell no, I'm not going to have another host. Why? Because every podcast I've ever watched, people have just been leaving the podcast, starting their own podcasts. Besides, we got a relationship to establish here. And I want to enjoy that relationship with you and me. So for the first season, there isn't going to be any interviews. It's going to be all topics that I come up from the top of my head. So if you're looking for a podcast that's going to be mainly interviews, or if you're looking for a podcast that's going to have a funny host, no, it's going to be me. It's going to be a little turbulent. I have to manage a lot of things. I got to manage videotaping. I got to manage creating, just thinking in my head while I'm also speaking to the camera. This is actually a really tough thing, producing a podcast and actually just being yourself, telling a story through the lens. Now, one thing I'll definitely say that I'm looking forward to a lot is who I can inspire. What's my genre? I think my genre, 110%, is motivation. What do I mean by motivation? I mean, I want you to be inspired. I want you to get up and get going. I want you to be that person that you want to be. And my job in Potential is Improving is to bring that out of you. And I cannot wait to do that. Yes, there's going to be popular culture topics. Yes, there's going to be other topics that have to do with life. There's going to be storytelling topics. And that's all going to happen on this podcast. But if you're looking for a podcast that's going to be talking about useless shit that no one's going to use, this isn't going to be for you. We're going to establish a relationship. We're going to grow a brand. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but we are going to take this podcast to a new heights, which is Potential is Improving. Now, who's inspired me to do this podcast? Well, there's a few individuals that have inspired me to do this podcast. The first person that's inspired me this entire pandemic season is Action Bronson. Why Action Bronson? Well, not only is he a super creative person, he's also never limited his mind. He's always a go-getter. He's always went out and get it, whether it's losing weight, whether it's being a chef, whether it's being a DJ. Action Bronson really spoke to me, and I really like his vibe. Another person that's also inspired this podcast is Colin Cowherd, the sports radio analyst. I only listen to sports radio, really, outside of podcasts, but the podcast that I do listen to, that's another inspired. But let's talk about Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd, I love his story of when he left ESPN and he went to Fox Sports. Why? Because he really spoke to the audience and he really let himself go in Fox Sports. And that's what I want to do. I want to let myself go and speak to you guys freely with deep monologues, deep, awesome conversations. And that's what I love about Colin Cowherd. Now, let's also go to another person that's inspired me. That's Anthony Bourdain. Rest in peace, the GOAT. Anthony Bourdain is one of those people that I find myself loving because he's so fucking real, man. He's the kind of person that's going to say, yo, I hate this food. I'm going to go to this other side of the country and eat this other type of food. Now, if I fuck with it, I'm going to tell the world about it. And even if I don't fuck with it, you're going to see it on TV. I love that he is authentically himself. That's another thing I think I am. I think I'm authentically myself. Everyone who's ever known me knows that I say a lot of stupid shit. And the reason why I said a lot of stupid shit is just, I don't know, it's my personality. And Anthony Bourdain really spoke to me about being himself. And then a couple other people that really inspired me. The only other podcast that I listen to is a podcast called Dormtainment, which is a collective YouTube group, and they've just created comedy. I love Dormtainment because they also created skits. They utilize video and sound to really gain their audience. If anything I could be at the end of this year, 2022, I hope it's somewhere near Dormtainment's level. Go check them out on YouTube. Also, the last two people that have really inspired me. Well, let's say three. One more is going to be Howard Stern. I know that's kind of a crazy name to throw out there because not everyone's a fan of Howard Stern, but that's why I love Howard Stern. It's because he really doesn't give a shit what you think. And he's going to follow the drama. He's going to get the juicy details. If I ever do have an interview, I'm going to be honest with the interviewee. I'm going to say, yo, why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? I love Howard Stern also for his longevity. That is freaking amazing that he's been still doing it to this day on Sirius XM radio. And the last two, they're both minorities, just like myself, who's a Latino. You gotta love George Lopez. When I see George Lopez, I see my cousins, I see my uncles, I see my familia, because everyone has a uncle kind of like George Lopez. And another person, that the last person and the most important person, I think too, is Chris Rock. Why do I like Chris Rock? Well, besides both of those guys being comedians, Chris Rock has the ability to laugh at himself. It doesn't matter how serious the matter is. Chris Rock does a great job of just taking a second and laughing at himself, at the situation, whether it's controversial, whether it's something else. I think Chris Rock does an amazing job at just being himself, and I think it's amazing. And besides, what do all these people that have inspired me to create this podcast have together? They have storytelling techniques. They're masterful storytellers. Yo, if I also say wrong grammar, I don't give a fuck. It's just how I speak. They're creative storytellers. And since I was a little kid, I've always loved telling stories. I've always loved talking to a camera, creating a story, developing a story, just doing anything I can so that you guys can be a part of it and that I can get my vision across to you guys. So those are the people that inspired me. And another thing that we are going to see in this show is we're also going to see my love of bourbon. When I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, I was really close to Kentucky, and I got into the bourbon, just massive entity that it is. And I accumulated a lot of bourbon already. You can, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the bourbon to the, I guess that would be to the right of me. I got some bourbon there. I got bourbon all over the apartment. So every beginning of the show, I'll always ask DV what I'm sipping on. And it's just a great way to get the show started, so you guys know that I'm on one just like everyone else. Speaking of which, I do need to take a sip of my bourbon. 1 second. Man, it's tough talking straight up to you guys, but I love it. I absolutely love it. And boy, when it comes to bourbon, I love that burn, but at the same time, I hate it at the same time. All right, let's go to the last topic, so we get to know each other straight up. What is potential isn't proven other than a picture of my younger self? Well, potential isn't proven is basically everyone has potential. You've had potential in your life some way, somehow. Some people have potential in playing sports. Some people have potential in getting the greatest A's and becoming a doctor. Some people have a potential of being a great real estate person, or maybe they're just an amazing accountant. But I always view things as potential isn't proven until you actually do it. So you got to do it. Everyone starts with potential. But one thing that happens when we get older is we kind of become complacent and we start not utilizing the potential that we have to develop the life we have. Me, I think my potential has always been in content. I think I've always had a knack for talking to the camera, talking to people. And when I turned 30, I was like, dude, am I really chasing my dreams? I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and I asked myself, maybe that's going to get me going. Maybe that's going to help me become the person I want to be when I transition to Nashville. For the first year when I moved to Nashville, I could not get any creative juices out of me. I couldn't get anything creative out of me. And maybe it's because I started living my life. Maybe it's because I started with an amazing company and got a promotion and I wanted to focus on that. Also, maybe it's just because I wanted to hit the gym. I've always been 120 pounds. Your boy's finally at 180. I gained a lot of weight, and it's also from eating bad. But with that being said, was I chasing my dreams? When I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, I wanted to do some things in audio. I want to dominate this city. I want to be the person. I want to be the light-skinned güero. I want to be the Hispanic person that's going to be honest and tell you straight up what we should do differently. How to motivate yourself to do what you want to do. That's who I want to be. And this is my first step. So potential isn't proven. My potential isn't proven yet. I got to prove it. I got to start somewhere. Do not be afraid to start somewhere. If you're going to get anywhere with me, just realize one thing right now, that I want you to get started. Whether that's creating a business, whether that's becoming a real estate guy, whether that's just shit. If you're selling weed, do your thing, pop, but just make sure that you do it to your best ability. I don't sell illegal shit, but I'm just saying, if you got to do it, you got to do what you got to do. I would love to get paid for YouTube. I would love to get paid for podcasting. I would love to get paid to do what I want to do. So every day I'm thinking about the podcast. I'm thinking about creating content for you guys. I want you guys to enjoy this podcast. I want you to enjoy these videos that I'm creating on YouTube. I drop a new video every Sunday, or I try to go every Sunday, but guarantee that every Wednesday you're getting my motherfucking voice. Guarantee that. And, I just want to make sure that you are where you want to be. I know that this is a calling for me. I'm going to work my butt off to make sure that I meet my potential, that people see me doing the things I want to do. And I'm finally at the point to actually get this done. And last thing before we head out of here, because I don't want to keep you guys too long. We have a longer podcast next Wednesday. But when it comes down, I did make a podcast when I was, when I was in San Antonio, Texas. I created my first podcast in 2017 or 18 called In One Ear, Out the Other. And this is before everyone started doing podcasts. And everyone said I had great potential in it. Everyone said they loved the podcast that I was making. Now, here's the problem, and here's the reason why I stopped that podcast. Number one, your boy was living at his parents' house. A 27-year-old living in his parents' house, working for an amazing company that I'm employed with now today. But, when you live at your parents' house, you can't really be yourself. You can't really talk shit the way you want to talk shit. You can't really do the things you want to do because you're nervous about other people in the room. Or even if they're downstairs, upstairs. Some of you friends have been to my house in San Antonio, Texas. I just can't be myself 110% of the time in my family house. And maybe it's the Latino in me, but I respect the hell out of my parents. So I'm not going to cuss in my house. So living in my parents' house, that's one of the reasons why I stopped it. The second reason why I stopped In One Ear, Out the Other is because at the same time, I was trying to get a promotion with the company that I'm employed with. So I didn't want them to utilize whatever I was doing in public or on YouTube or in the web, in any of the webosphere. I didn't want them to say, yo, you said this and you did that. So I stopped it because I wanted to get promoted. And the last thing, I think I wasn't at a great place yet. I've been really focusing on myself these past 3 years. Really focusing. Freak, man. I've been freak. Why am I saying freak? Fuck, man. I've been working out hard as hell. I've been making my money. I've been traveling all around the United States at 37 or 38 different states in the United States. Your boy is just more finally feeling comfortable within his own shoes. And when I made my first podcast, I wasn't comfortable. But with that being said, if you are waiting to get something done, don't be a chicken. Get your ass up. Stop being a bitch. Look at all them chickens out there. If you want to start a podcast, you start a podcast. Stop being a chicken. Invest your money. I invested my money into this podcast. You could do the damn same too. But look, I'll tell you one thing. Like I said before, and I'm going to leave you at this. A lot of people are going to blow smoke up your ass and say that they can be a podcast host. They're going to say that they have stories. They're going to say blah, 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 blah. Look, I'm coming for all of y'all. I'm coming for all the people that cannot develop content. The game's over, baby. I'm here now. And you got to deal with me. And I can't wait to bring you guys along. Like I said, look at the YouTube page. Add my Patreon page. Sponsor the video. Share this fucking video. Let's get the show on the road, baby. But yeah, man, that's it. I love you guys. Thank you for joining the first episode, the introduction to Potential is Improving the podcast. And hit me up on all social media platforms at dozadirection.com. Doza Direction. We taking it over this year, 2022. Let's get it, baby. I'll see you guys later. Cheers. That's it. Share the motherfucking podcast. Bye.